Every warrior knows the feeling, the weight of command, the silence at the top, the burden no one else sees or can seem to understand. Leadership can be the loneliest place in the world. But what if I told you it doesn't have to be that way? Hey, welcome back to Warrior Servant Leader Podcast. I'm Pat Welsh, your host. Today, we're going to talk about leadership loneliness and why the warrior leader carries the burden alone when they don't have to. I spent nearly 30 years in law enforcement, and often I was sitting in that lonely chair of leadership. As a superintendent, when I was a major of operations, I had hundreds of cops and civilian staff that I was responsible for. And that loneliness and worry at times of, is the phone going to ring at 3 o'clock in the morning that one of my officers is involved in a shooting or worse, was seriously injured or killed? And I would understand that officers were struggling, and many times I didn't know what to do or say. Equally true, there were many times where I had this sense of uh, who's carrying me? The people that were my leaders. Who could I go to? What would I do if I felt that I needed help? The reality is, leadership, whether it's in law enforcement, whether it's in the military, whether it's in the corporate world, or even in your family, personal life, leadership can be very isolating. Uh, Leaders that have that warrior mindset, that leading from the front, that defending what they believe at all personal cost to themselves. They don't want to burden the team of folks that they're leading with doubt of, ooh, can our lieutenant really do the job? Can our chief really be the leader of this department, because they have their doubts about you? So we don't want to do or say anything that might appear to be weak, that would raise doubts in the minds of others. Executives in the corporate world, they don't want to admit that they're drowning in their responsibilities because they are trying to do everything themselves. One of the worst pieces of advice you could ever get or give to someone that's in a leadership position is this: if you want it done right, do it yourself. Absolutely the worst advice you can ever give or get with respect to leadership. And even parents as leaders don't want to be seen as weak in the eyes of their children or in the eyes of other parents in the neighborhood or at the kids' school. And so they get this sense of isolation of don't say anything. Don't speak about your struggles. Don't ask for help. And over time, that sense of loneliness and going it alone can be extremely debilitating, and it can corrode you physically, emotionally, spiritually, and eventually it comes to a breaking point. But here's the truth: warrior servant leaders are not meant to carry the burden of their responsibilities alone. Servant leadership breaks that sense and reality of isolation because servant leadership begins with genuine humility, that you know you are not the king of the world, that you're not Superman, but that you have faults, you have needs, you have areas in your life that you need to grow in, and you can, with genuine humility, admit it and ask for help. And a warrior servant leader who wants to break that bondage of being isolated knows that they need to be able to connect with other people. And not just connect with the people that they're responsible for leading, but to connect with people in a very genuine, personable sort of way. It's not about protecting your image and having fear of what are people going to say about you if you screw up. It's about protecting your people. It's also about letting others protect you. I remember I did an episode on it when the leadership lessons I learned from shooting a chair in my office. It's an accidental discharge, but I shot a chair in my office. Go listen to that old episode for all the details. But the thing about this leadership connecting component and that sense of loneliness was when I came in the next day, because I mean, it was so it was really stupid what I did, and I felt embarrassed, and I went home that evening going, everybody's going to think, what an idiot Lieutenant Welsh is, and I came in the next day, and on my door to my office was a sign, that type sign that says, if Lieutenant Welsh asks you to have a seat in his office, politely decline and remain standing. And I thought that was, okay, it was a little bit funny. I go in, and I had 12 chairs in my office, 10 around a conference table, and then the two chairs for guests, and then my chair behind the desk. So 13 chairs. Every chair in my office had a bullseye target taped to it. And on my desk was a little clear plastic recipe box filled with ashes. Somebody got out of their fireplace probably. And there was a little typed 3x5 card there that says, "Here lie the remains of the chair executed by Lieutenant Welsh." My folks, and I had probably close to 60 cops working for me at the time, and a couple civilians. They had a relationship and connection with me that they knew they could poke a little fun at the boss for doing something stupid and have some fun with it and know that I wasn't going to get pissed and I'd have a good laugh with them. And that's what happened. And so building those connections, those personal connections with your folks is extremely important. So how do you do that? How can you break that cycle of loneliness when you are in a leadership, warrior servant leadership position? One thing that's extremely important from a leadership standpoint is you're not sitting on a throne. You're not the judge in the courtroom whose seat is the highest one. You sit higher than the witness. You sit higher than everybody else in the courtroom. I call that a throne. Leadership is not about sitting on a throne. And if you want to break because I call it the throne of loneliness, because only one person can sit in that seat. And if you ain't that person, God help you if you get caught sitting in that seat. It's about having a perspective and a mindset that your responsibility and your relationships and your connections with people is more like a circle than a throne, and that you can interact with people even though you are in a position of leadership and you may have to take disciplinary action against someone, but you're not doing it from up here, being somebody sitting in judgment on them. Surround yourself in the circle of people in your world. Surround yourself with people that you trust. Surround yourself with mentors and coaches. Surround yourself with people that can understand what you're going through because they've been there themselves. You can be a warrior, but you can't be your own medic. So put it in kind of that perspective of who in my circle of folks is that person that can come up to me and go, hey, you're injured, even though you don't see it yourself. Hey, boss. Hey, buddy. Hey, brother. Hey, sister. You got wounds, and I'm here to help. And who are you a medic for? Who can you go to because you have that relationship, that connection that you can see in their behaviors, in their attitude, in their demeanor, that, hey, something's not right. And that you can go to them and they're not going to be offended that you go, hey, what's up? You seem to be not yourself. Well, you need those kind of medics in your own life that can come up and do the same for you. And that requires you to have a genuine sense of vulnerability. And I don't mean wearing your heart on your sleeve and that you're always sharing your everyday struggles with people and all that you're always talking about how tough things are or whatever. No, I'm not talking about that. That's usually somebody that's a complainer. I'm talking about that you are vulnerable enough that you can go to somebody and say, I need help, whatever that is. I would tell people when I train around the country and I talk about courtroom survival, how you can go into court and testify. And I'll start a class off and I'll go, how many people here hate going to court? And over half the class, and they're all cops, some of them are very seasoned, 20, 25 years on the job. And they'll raise their hand, hate going to court. And I'll go, why? And they go, because I hate defense attorneys and it doesn't feel natural to have to testify, to tell people a story that I don't know. And I'll whittle that down to you. They're afraid of public speaking. And I get that. I'm not afraid of public speaking. So I will share with them as the medic. I'll give them, hey, here's a treatment for you. Join Toastmasters. Learn the art of public speaking. Learn the art of communication. And it's a lot of fun. I joined a Toastmasters. Had a blast. It is a lot of fun, and it is in an environment where you're not going to be judged and criticized for your lack of communication skills, but you are going to be surrounded by people that are going to encourage you and help you because they've been where you are right now. That's why they joined Toastmasters, to become better public speakers. Another thing which is extremely important, you have to have, as a warrior and a leader and a servant, a foundation that connects you with your mission and vision, with your calling. And that requires, in my book, my arena, my world, is that you have to be grounded in faith, hope, and love. There is a God. There is an authority greater than you, and you have to be grounded in that. And I'll explain here in a second why. You have to have hope, particularly if you are in law enforcement in an urban environment. What you see and hear and have to deal with every day for 20, 25, 30 years, nobody should have to endure that for one day. You know, how many murder scenes have you been on, or death scenes, accidental deaths, overdose deaths, infant deaths? Just it's crushing to you emotionally, physically, psychologically, and spiritually. And it will destroy you if you are not grounded in faith, hope, and love. Because if you lose hope, then you have nothing. And that's why people take their own lives. They've lost hope. So I strongly encourage you, improve on, if you already have it to some degree, but have fallen away or just are in a valley, of surrounding yourself with people that can help you build and encourage your faith, your hope, and your love professionally, personally, and eternally. And that will help release some of that crushing weight you were never meant to carry. Some other things. This is really key for people, especially in law enforcement. Start connecting with people and interacting with people off the job who are not cops. Start developing friendships with people who are not cops. We isolate ourselves in law enforcement in this us versus them mindset that probably by the time you're 10 years into your career, you realistically have no real friends unless they're cops. And this is, for me, this was absolutely the truth. We had mandatory residency. You worked for the city, you had to live in the city. My street was 2 blocks long. One block had 11 houses. 7 of those houses were cops. One was an arson investigator. One was a firefighter paramedic. We had 44 kids under the age of 18 in those 11 houses. All they knew, not all, I mean, they went to school, but in their immediate everyday life, every kid on the block was a cop's kid or a paramedic, firefighter, or an arson investigator's kid. We had one civilian family on our street, on our block. The next block down, pretty much the same thing, 10 or 11 houses, over half of them were cops. That becomes your life. You surround yourself with cops. You're working with them 10 or 12 hours a day. When you're off duty, if you're at court, you're with them. If you're living in the same neighborhoods, you're with them. If you're involved in your FOP and you're doing family picnics, who all is at those family picnics? Cops' families. I get it. I lived it. 26 years in Dayton, Ohio. If you want to break this isolation feeling, part of that break involves getting involved with people and activities that have nothing to do with law enforcement. My wife here, they have a group. I mean, I'm retired and we moved to Colorado, but they have a group. It's called LOL, Ladies of Larkspur, Larkspur, Colorado. It's about, I don't know, 100 plus women in it. And in that group, they have a bunco, they have pickleball, they have hiking groups, they have biking groups, they have craft groups, they have all these different activities for women who come from all walks of life and all economic levels of life. And that's how they fellowship and have fun and connect with one another in a way that has absolutely nothing to do with their careers or their past careers. So I strongly encourage you, join some group, and if there isn't any, create one. But do something that doesn't involve nothing but a bunch of other professionals of whatever career your profession you're in. And finally, one of the things that I've found most helpful for me is studying and reading the lives, the biographies, if you will, of other warrior servant leaders throughout history. I have one of my favorite books, A&E put this together. It's called Ultimate Biography. It came out in 2002, and it is a inside the lives of the world's 250 most influential people and historical figures. I mean, all sorts of people. From the arts, from world history, from American history, from the spiritual faith history, and to read about people and learn their story gives me encouragement, gives me insight, gives me tools in my own warrior servant leader journey. I start every morning off. There's an app on my phone. It's called Laudate, Laudate. It's a Roman Catholic Church app. And every day it has a saint of the day. It actually has more than one, but there's the primary, the very first one. And every day I get to read about the saint of the day. And going back thousands of years, saints within the church. And some St. Teresa of Calcutta, Pope St. John Paul II. This past Sunday, a new saint, 15 years old, born 1991, died in 2006 of leukemia. And I talked about him on the podcast last week, Carlo Acutis. Jeans tennis shoe, pizza eating, game playing, internet video game kid who had an incredible deep faith, and actually he's going to be considered the patron saint of the internet, how he used the internet to create a documentary of about 150 miracles in the Catholic Church associated with the Eucharist. Fascinating stories of people. And they give me inspiration and encouragement, and also it takes away that sense of loneliness in that you can see, how these weren't all rich, famous, kids or adults who struggled with some of the same things that I struggle with. And so use that history to help break that cycle of feeling that leadership is a lonely place to be, and that maybe you want to quit it, or you don't even want to jump into it in the first place because of the fear of the isolation that you have seen in people that you consider leaders in your community, in your career, or in your family. So I hope that if you're listening to this right now and it resonates with you, that you don't mistake your sense of loneliness for failure. You're not. You're not weak. You're not a failure. You're not alone. That people have gone through and are going through the same things that you are right now, and understand that you were never designed to fight these battles alone. So build your circle, learn and grow in humility and that vulnerability, anchor yourself in faith, and that is how you, as a warrior servant leader, are going to be more effective and more connected to the people that you are serving and leading. I hope you have found today's episode to be inspirational and challenging. If you know someone that needs to hear this message, please share it with them. And as always, if you need somebody that you want to talk with, correspond with, get coached by, reach out to me, pjwelshllc@gmail.com. Connect with me on LinkedIn, Pat Welsh JD. Connect with me on Substack, same thing, Pat Welsh JD. And I'd love to walk this journey with you. So keep leading with courage, humility, and strength. And as always, do the right things at the right time, the right way, and for the right reasons. Love y'all. See you next week.